Hello, everybody. Welcome to Between Two Coins. I am here joined by Zach, the main man, the cool
What's
guy.
up, guys?
I love that guy. And we're also joined today by Tshroom.
Woo! Yeah. You know we out here doing it.
But anyways, so as you may notice, my amazing host, Tim, is not here today. Unfortunately, he is dealing with a lot of like a family emergency right now. So just prayers for Tim. We are going to keep the ship rolling. That's what he would want. So that is what we're doing. So without further ado, I think the first thing I kind of want to start open up with is talk about where I've been. Where's Smay been? Any guesses from you guys? Where have I been?
I think you've been at something called NAB.
Oh yeah, NAB,
National Aviary Boys.
National Aviary Boys. You heard it here first. National Aviary Boys. No, I was actually at the National Association of Broadcasters show, NAB, in Las Vegas. Wow, what a place! Anybody who lives in Las Vegas who has been there will know what I'm saying. But guys, Las Vegas is like, there is no place I've ever been in my life that has the aura and vibe of Las Vegas. But have either of you guys been there?
Nope.
I have never been to Las Vegas.
See, I'll be honest with you. There's some things that I thought while I was there. First of all, the amount of money put into that place is ridiculous. Just because, obviously there's a ton of gambling, a lot of people traveling there, tourism, stuff like that. And it's almost like Las Vegas. So New York, you'll go to New York. It's like the place where everyone spent their money wisely. You go to Las Vegas and it's where all these rich people spent their money in the most just ridiculous way possible. Like the casinos are like themed and like there's a place called New York, New York. If you guys know what I'm talking about, it's literally just like the New York skyline as a giant casino, and it's like almost just as big, gigantic. So, but it got me thinking, and I want to kind of introduce this topic here. It got me thinking about what would happen if crypto got more plugged in to this environment. Obviously, however you feel about it, I didn't love the atmosphere, but however you feel about it, there's money to be made there. There's money also to be lost there, but there's also it's just there's a lot of money being spent in Las Vegas. So what would that mean for the crypto space if a place like Las Vegas pretty tightly integrated into the crypto community? Tshroom, I'll open up with you. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is what do you see the draw so far for Decentraland being, right? It's people getting in and investing in something they think they're early on, right? And then it's the actual development has been casinos and people promoting their own crypto projects and some art. But so that's the first thing that comes to my mind. So it's like the industry sees crypto as very compatible with a gambling casino type atmosphere, whether it be online or elsewhere. And I think that elsewhere is probably going to be Las Vegas, New Jersey, Atlantic City. I think there's a lot of compatibility there, but it just comes down to the legality aspect of it. I know that gambling has a lot of strict regulation around it. You can't do it everywhere. There's only a couple cities in the U.S. that you can legally and freely and openly gamble in a commercial environment.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's just in a garage with a small poker table and a couple of people from the neighborhood or from, coworkers. But obviously Las Vegas and Atlantic City, they take it to a whole nother level.
Oh, I mean, I'd say even further than the gambling side, which, by the way, again, to set the stage for anybody who's not been there, the first thing I discovered very quickly was that there was a slot machine, and literally everywhere there could be a slot machine. So airport had a bunch of slot machines, bathrooms have slot machines, you know what I mean? Like grocery stores have slot machines. Even if it's just a regular hotel, that hotel has slot machines in it. You know what I mean? Like everything. Movie theaters had slot machines. And, so that was very interesting. But actually, I would say even further than that, though, further than the gambling, which I think is a huge part of why there's a lot of money in Las Vegas, there's also a huge tourism it's a huge tourism spot for. I mean, there's all these shows. A lot of people coming in to see these celebrities do these acts and shows there, and there's like a lot of attractions. There's a giant Ferris wheel. There's a lot of different cool stuff. There's aquariums. Yeah, a lot of very kind of also historical stuff. You got like the Hoover Dam and all that stuff. Those tours are like getting taken in and out from the Strip. So that's kind of like my instant thought is like there's just it's a place where money comes in a lot, right? Because of the tourism, right? It's not just a place that makes a lot of money because of their economy, right, or something like that. It's self-generated. No, a lot of it is people are bringing outside money there from all around the world. So what would it look like if potentially there was a little bit more of a, like maybe even just the government of Nevada or maybe even the local government in that county started adopting Bitcoin and kind of putting that money into that kind of world and maybe even implementing the allure of bringing a different side of tourism to bring people in for maybe NFT exhibits and, stuff like that. So, I mean, Zach, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I actually have a couple thoughts. So, kind of going off Tshroom and then tap into what Smay said, I think a big lure in crypto is the community, right? So if you have the tourism, that's the community, right? So you go to Las Vegas to go to Las Vegas. What do you say? Oh, I'm posting on social media, I'm in Las Vegas, right? It's all about the atmosphere. It's all about where I'm trying to be. And so in Decentraland, I mean, there is online gambling has been a thing for a long time, right? But Decentraland kind of gives it that crypto community fling and also that almost like ability to be there, right? Mm-hmm. I'm there with my boys or I'm there with whoever, and we're all like crypto enthusiasts. This is our stuff. This is our land. This is our place, right? And I can gamble with people around me. Well, if Las Vegas, I think, were to adopt that and kind of surround that where, hey, we actually host, kind of like how Miami is that hub. Miami right now is the hub for crypto community, right? Well, if Las Vegas were to adopt that and I think really implement, okay, this is a place for crypto and for crypto people, but it's also Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. So it's the Las Vegas crypto scene. I think a lot of this is surrounded by people that want to be, one, early investors, and then two, like this is like boots on the ground. Like I'm here in Las Vegas doing Las Vegas things, right? Making a lot of money. But I'm also here to do...
Well, or losing a lot of money.
Or losing a lot of money. I mean
mostly losing
game,
a lot
right?
of money. Yeah.
So.
Most people, I'll tell you what, though, like most people were losing money. I mean, that's just how it's built. But
I think from what I've heard, this is the strategy that I think that they're implementing, and it probably in most cities where they're a lot of famous for gambling, is that if you go there one and done, like you just go there for a weekend, right? I think that I've heard more people that have made money.
I made money.
That come back. Exactly. See
so
what I'm saying?
I turned...
Because they want to make people evangelizers of Las Vegas.
Absolutely.
But it's the people that go there
and stay,
get entrenched with the industry, and they stay there in some way or another, or maybe they just work in the auxiliary. I'm sure there's a public school system. I'm sure there's all kinds of employment. They're the ones that are kind of feeding into it because some percentage of their income is going towards that. And
well, I think there was a lot of, not to cut you off, but I think there was actually just a lot of, what I found the most was there's a lot of international people. Like it was very much like people would fly in. There was a lot of people from out east, like a lot of Europeans, a lot of Asians and stuff like that came in, and they were all there gambling and bringing in a lot of money.
Yeah.
I would actually say what I noticed is, so I took $20. Okay. I was like, might as well. I'm here, win in Rome. Right. So I decided to throw $20 in a slot machine. I turned $20 into like $25.
Nice.
Really good. Right. So then I said, you know what? I'm just going to I'm going to take my principal out, almost like trading. Right. I'm going to take my principal out and I'm going to trade with the profit. And so I put the $5 in, turned the $5 into 16, turned the 16 into 0. Okay. Actually, more realistically, it turned the 16 into 25 cents. So I say, you know what? Now I got the itch, right? And this is the danger. So I think even too, this can be a lesson that maybe gets applied to trading, and I can get there in a second. But I got the itch. I was like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna put the 20 back in. So I put my 20 back in, put myself at risk. I just put myself back at risk when I was not. Put that 20 in, turned the 20 into 50. So I said, I got that high. I was like, let's do it. So I took the 20 out. Okay, I took my principal back out. And I put another $20, lost it. So lost that. So then I put another $20 from the profits that I got from the previous gambling session. And I turned that into what ended up making it total of $81 gained. So that was a very interesting experience, but it actually kind of reminded me a little bit of the way people trade a little bit. They almost treat it like gambling, and I noticed very and this is actually, now that I actually kind of just got to feel it, because I've done some trading, but not to that point of where you're getting the dopamine, right?
Right.
Like you do in that it's very fast. Like a slot machine's a lot different than trading because it's just like instant, right? You're just ding, 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 whatever. But I actually, it made me think about the emotional, how do you carry yourself emotionally in trading and how important that is, because ultimately, it's very addicting, right? That high that you get from making a good trade, or in this case, profiting on a gamble. It's very much so like you can get addicted to that high, and then it makes you make bad decisions, right? It makes you, from what I went to where I said, okay, I'm going to only trade with my profits, right? So in this case, in what we preach in the crypto is say, I'm only going to trade with this percentage of my portfolio, right? Say I'm really red on that. Oh, I just profited. Now I'm gonna put another 10% or 20% from my investing portfolio that I shouldn't have touched. But now that high is getting me to make really dumb decisions, right? I think ultimately that's where I realized how much of how that is why there's not more rich people in the world, right?
I actually have something to say about that.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Well, I think this is a great plug for Club DeFi, which is about the psychology of trading coming up.
Ooh,
so
boom.
Plug there. But I actually want to give you guys a little bit of preview, because exactly what Smay said, it's about that mindset and mentality, but also, like Kelly does explain, when you're trading, it's a lot about your mindset, but your space, the space you're in. I mean, I like exercise. I think everybody else here has exercise. It's a good analogy. When you're consistently exercising, you know your limits and you know your strengths, and you also you're in a healthy spot to
unless you're David Goggins.
Well, and but then you just push. You can't do that when exercise. You can push yourself to the limit in exercise. You're gonna feel it tomorrow. Well, you can put yourself in trade. You might feel it tomorrow. You know what I mean? But the space that you're in, and when you're consistently doing it, you're very aware of where you can push your limits and your stop losses. You're very aware of where you're putting your money in and what kind of trading decisions you can make in a very viable time set. Versus when you're in a bad spot, or when you're itching, or when you have that dopamine, but you're either new to the space, or you're just in a bad spot in life. Like you need a second to take a breather and make sure that you're doing well, like mentally, physically, and then in your trading. I mean, it makes a world of difference, because you're gonna know what you're capable of. It's almost like you're watching a movie. You'd be watching a movie and you think, oh wow, I mean that looks easy. I feel like I can do that. I can definitely make that hop. I can do that jump. I can do that in sports. Like sometimes you're watching a movie, you're like, oh dude, I can be like that famous soccer player or whatever. But then when you get into it, you're very much aware, wow, that is a skill set that I don't have.
Yeah.
So guess what? I need to learn, I need to practice, and I need to be very aware of decisions I'm making, both in my head and physically and mentally, before I get into it. That's the name of the game, is like, where you're at, and you assess, and then you execute.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So, I mean, I think ultimately though, I think the eye opener for me, just in just a takeaway, was, in order to succeed, right, it's gonna take in terms of taking those risks, right, those risky decisions, which is what trading can be. Trading is in a sense a gamble, right? It is like at the end of the day, it's just like a longer term form of gambling, right? And I think in that you can be successful if you're calculated, right? If you've taken your emotions out of it. Making money in this scenario, right, where you're putting yourself at risk, is not a place where you can have fear, right? So I would even say, I think that's why my biggest takeaway was that it's something that you have to be prepared for. Just like Zach kind of was getting at, it's a skill that you have to develop, and you don't have to put yourself at a large amount of risk before you've learned to be able to manage that risk, right? I think that was kind of a little bit of a rabbit trail getting into that mindset, but it was something I really noticed because I think even there was just a lot of people there, and the saddest part, I'll be honest with you, the saddest part for me is that when you're there, everything, all the restaurants, everything's in a casino, right? So it's like I walked by countless people sitting at a slot machine, and they're just like zombies. Like they're just sitting there, ding, 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 ding. Ding, ding, ding. Like desperate, sad, desperate people. And that's the thing is like a lot of people get like that in crypto, right? That's why first and foremost, right, investing in your emotional health, investing in your physical health, which can also lead to your emotional health. And that's, obviously you guys know that I haven't been as disciplined about it, but I recently started a weight loss journey. I'm down 50 pounds or so. And the first thing I noticed was that your mood improves, right? Like your mood improves when you start working out. So there's the physical health side of it, but it's ultimately you have to be in a healthy spot to be able to venture into a realm like that. But Tshroom, what are your thoughts on that?
So the philosophy that I try to hold to when it comes to the psychology of trading and the psychology of gambling too, because I think there's a time and a place for gambling. You got to experience it, of course, over the weekend, and that's one of the things you got to be ultra careful with moderating. Making sure that you're moderating that. But the philosophy that I kind of hold is fear and greed. Everything's looked through the lens of fear and greed, and at a casino type environment, you're gonna be most tempted by greed. You're gonna be like, ooh, I just got this dopamine hit. I just got this elevation in my bank account. I want that again, rather than saying I am better off than I was when I came in here, and I didn't have to work for it. I should just go ahead and head the other way and go along my life that I expect to be troubling and have to have sacrifices, and there'll be a lot of difficulty. But instead, a lot of people just say, I want to divert my attention from the difficulty that life has and just go down a path of dopamine hits. Mm-hmm. And you end up, living for just little dopamine hits, and your bank account goes steadily down, but you continue to justify it to yourself.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, and that is something. Ultimately, at the end of the day, that's the deeper thing. But we've talked about it before. Of like sometimes people look to different things to be able to get them out of that, or to even what it is, just going from one dopamine to one form of dopamine to another, and really what dopamine is. And if you're a neurochemist or whatever, neurologist, or the meaning. I might butcher this, so correct us in the comment down below. But dopamine is the reward chemical, right? It's when you've accomplished something, or in your body's sense to accomplish something. So that could actually mean something as simple as whether that you made a little bit of money, right? You profited a little bit, or you saw a funny video, right? Mm-hmm. Or you worked out. Mm-hmm. There's those little it's that reward chemical, right? So as humans, our instinct is, well, let me find the path of least resistance way of being rewarded, right? So then you find those things, and getting
an Amber Alert here.
Amber Alert. Amber Alert. We're leaving this in. We're leaving the Amber Alert in.
Yeah, that's not good.
But anyways, the thing is, that's the way a lot of people use trading as their way of achieving that reward chemical and to make their mood feel better and feel better about their circumstances. But the problem is it's a two-edged sword, right? It's a two-edged sword because if you're already in that deficit where you're chasing the dopamine, right? Once you get into once you're getting into a field like trading where it can be rewarding, if you're not built to take the other side of the sword, right? You're not wearing that armor, you're going to get burned. You're going to get hurt because now you're already at a deficit emotionally, and now you're not going to be able to handle the even more of a deficit you're going to be in with making a bad trade, or maybe not even a realized trade. Say it's not a realized trade, you got in and the market went down. Just so you know, guys, as long as you're using stop losses and you're not leverage trading ridiculous or whatever, you can just hold into a trade. Like, you don't have to jump out. You can hold on tight until the market goes back up.
Yeah, and I have many examples of when that has been what I had to end up doing.
Oh, absolutely. So at the end of the day, I think what I'm just trying to communicate is that taking care of yourself emotionally, physically, all those things first and foremost, and putting yourself in a position to learn first, right? Because trading, there's a reason why we talk about trading, right? We have tools to teach you trading, but we don't talk about trading nearly as much as we talk about investing. Why? Is because a lot of you guys, the harsh reality is a lot of you guys aren't ready, right? But our goal as a company here is to be able to provide that training for you guys to be equipped to do it. And that's kind of what Club DeFi serves as, and that's what a lot of our content for education is trying to do, is to equip you guys to be able to take that toll. But we can do that, right? We can educate you strategies, we can educate you ways to do things, but the responsibility that has to be taken is the initiative also on the other end is to get yourself in a place where you're ready and able to take on those challenges, right? And that we can't work out for you. You know what I mean? We can't take care of those personal things. And so that's going to be that's what we here as a company even, we're very passionate about being healthy people. Like, we have, we all have gym memberships. We all have, try to encourage each other to lead healthy lifestyles. And because everything's connected, it directly influences the way you're going to trade or invest and so on. So
it also makes the work environment here at CryptoJeb a very positive one, because we're all healthy. We're all well,
I'm getting there, but yeah.
I think you're healthy too. I mean, we're all starting from different places, but we're all coming in and we're well rested and all of that. But so the other part of my philosophy, though, and this isn't my philosophy, like it's exclusive to me. A lot of people think this way, but
the Tshroom special is what we call it.
So there's greed, but the other one is fear, and that's one that is a little more unique to trading, because in Las Vegas, there's probably not, the only fear would be the fear of missing out on a good
FOMO,
but in trading, the fear can be really bad because you'll sell at a loss and then the next day
the fear is I'll tell you the fear is what I went through when I lost my profit.
Yeah.
So I went and put my principal back in. There is fear because the fear of loss, of losing. Yeah. But continue.
And so you'll never be able to fully do this, but you should always be working towards removing and isolating all emotion away from your trading strategy, your trading system. And it's difficult to do. It's very difficult to do. But usually what that looks like is, it's technical analysis. You're using less fundamentals, less, I just read this article on China, so I'm going to buy a bunch of these, these securities they're going to move because of that story, because of that fundamental story. And I'm looking and waiting for a series of indicators to show me what I expect them to show me. And usually you're going to be making trades a lot less often.
Yeah.
And you're going to be doing a lot of watching a screen that doesn't ever line up until it does. And then this is it. This is, the MACD's doing this, the RSI is doing this, the TD sequential's here, and it's a dip, so I'm going to buy it. And then you do, and then you're at that point, that's where it's like, okay, it's not really an emotional experience. And you what you have to realize is that you're not going to be as happy doing that, but you'll be actually making real achievement and real progress. So, maybe it's a time for you to have kind of a gut check and say, am I extremely happy when I make like 40% on a this last Dogecoin spike? Did I ride that wave? Was I very happy? It's okay if you did, unless you were using money that you can't afford to lose in order to do that trade. But if you were very happy doing that, or you were very sad because you missed it, that's probably something you want to look inwardly. And maybe you're just young. Don't beat yourself up about any of this stuff that we're talking about. But maybe that's something you can work on. And by work on, I mean, start to really maybe even just write it down. Maybe just write down, what you're feeling, and be honest with yourself. And sometimes that is all you need to take that first step towards a better tomorrow.
It's starting with recognizing it, right? Yeah. Like, I think for me, and guys, I went into it, just so you know, when I went into it and I put that $20 in, right? The whole idea, like, I knew I was setting the $20 on fire, and I was not going to take any more out of my bank account to put anything else in. I was only going to play that $20, and wherever that led me there, right? So I already, that was the first and foremost thing, which is what we always talk about with investing or trading or anything, is that, only invest or spend or trade what you're willing to lose. And so I did that. $20. I had $20 that I could just set on fire, right? So I took that $20, put it in, and the first thing I recognized, right, is as I would make I'll tell you what, more so than trading, what these slot machines are doing is preying on what's going on in your brain. The sounds they're making, the lights they're making, everything they're doing, the way it's rewarding you, it's just accelerating what you feel like when you get on a Dogecoin pump, right? So I got to really get introspective as I was doing it, right? Because I was there with my brother. Funny enough, my brother lost everything that he put in. That was tragic.
Which was how much? Did you put much more than you?
Yeah, no. Here's the sad part about what happened with my brother. He kept putting in money. Oh. So he lost $75 total. So it's not bad. He didn't okay. He obviously, both of us came at it that we're not going to become like these gambling fiends that are just going at it, putting hundreds of dollars in, but he was kind of bummed about it though, because like I walked away with $80, he lost $75, so that was tragic for him. Yeah. Yeah. But back to what I was kind of getting at was what was I getting at?
Well, I actually had a question for Tshroom.
What's your question?
Right. So you, out of all of us, have the most trading experience, but I wanted to ask, like, obviously when you go into a trade, you go into any investment, I mean, those might be different things, but how often do you have that number in your head, whether it's a stop loss, but also your gains? And then investment wise, that might be a little more loose, but you always have a number. Okay, I'm going to get out here.
Target exit,
right? Well, but then how often do you change that?
Let me finish what I was going to say, then we'll jump into that, because I just remembered what I was getting at. So just to wrap it up really quickly, what I was saying is the first thing I noticed when I was doing it, and it was setting these dopamine off or whatever stuff, it was the reflection, the introspection to realize what it was doing to me, right? I already came into it because I live in Florida, right? We don't gamble here. So I'm not like, it's not something that I was familiar. So I always had the negative connotation of what it was, right? So I was already introspectively recognizing that, oh, that felt really good. I know what it's doing to me, right? So I knew that I was getting addicted to it. And so that ultimately is why I walked away at 80, and I wasn't gonna keep doing it because I had the instinct to, I had the itch to, but I didn't. So it's fighting that. Like Tshroom said, fighting it or start making a change in that direction starts with first recognizing the problem, and you have to recognize what it's doing to you. But now you can answer that.
Yeah. Let's see. How often do you change the price, the exit?
Your exit price, or even in a game, like you might, oh man, it's still going up. Maybe I can inch that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And then
good question. The academic answer would be you don't. The academic answer would be because one trade is just one in a series of, potentially thousands of trades that you're going to make over a period of time. You exit when you planned to exit. right? So that's the academic answer, right? The real world answer, which again should be ever increasingly getting closer to the academic answer, is I definitely have traded on emotion. I still trade on emotion, but it's something that I'm progressing towards not doing anymore, right? And so, it really depends. It really depends. I'll tell you, I haven't sold for a loss in probably a year, just because I've been a lot more selective of what I'm buying, but I'm also back holding a decent amount of stuff, right? So there's stuff that I'm on a loss for, but it's because I believe in it. In fact, there's only one stock that I own that I am down on, and I don't think it's going to come back up. And it's a company called Wheels Up. It's this private jet company where it's like Uber for private jets. Right. It could come back up, but I think it's probably not going to. And, but everything else I'm very, very confident in. I have a strong conviction that these industries that I've researched and looked into, that I'm just going to continue to DCA as they go lower or as they come back up. And in crypto, you apply essentially the same philosophy. If you're in an altcoin that you don't believe in, but you were just buying it because you think that there's going to be a pump, you should sell for a loss, right? If it starts to go down, you should have a number in your head. Okay, I'm going to sell at 3%. I'm going to sell at 10% loss. And you shouldn't feel bad for selling for that loss because you already knew you'd bake that into your overall strategy, your trading budget. Yeah. So hopefully that answers your question. The answer should be never. You should never change. Let's say you were trading GameStop back in the day, totally isolated from what was happening to GameStop, and you were just trading it because it came up on one of your screeners,
Absolutely,
right? As a trader. I don't remember the numbers, but let's say you were expecting it to go up 5%, and it was up, 4.9%, and you were just about to.
I did that. By the way, you're telling my story.
You were just about to exit the trade, but then, all the Wall Street bets bros just like pump it to the moon, and you didn't even know that was going to happen. Right. You're just a CNBC guy. You maybe not even watching the news at all. You're just trading your own patterns. And then it goes all the way to the moon. It's like, those are the types of things that you'd miss out on by having a disciplined strategy. Mm-hmm. But you run it over like a 50-year span, the person with a disciplined strategy is going to be way wealthier every single time than someone who's sitting there and they rode GME all the way to the top. Yeah. Are there exceptions to that? Sure, because there's really sophisticated hedge funds that are also raking Reddit, and they have like really advanced algorithms that are providing them all kinds of data. Sure. And there's just the people who were in those subreddits, but those are exceptions to the rule. I actually
kind of want to go off that though, because that raises a good point. So when you set those numbers in your head, right, and that you know what's happening, but how often do you keep almost like tabs on your research? So everything that you're invested in, I'm sure you're researching and kind of staying up to, especially technical analysis and fundamental. What do you think, like, hey, is it a once a week thing? Is it a monthly thing? Like I'm sure different strategies call for different, research, but at least in your experience, how often do you keep tabs on stuff?
How often? I'd say multiple times a week, but that's just because I'm in the crypto world, right? Professionally, it's my job. Yeah. I'm constantly researching every single morning. I'm looking at the charts to help plan for the morning show. So in tandem, I'm also looking at my personal accounts and stuff like that.
Sure.
So, but someone working an insurance job, right, where all they're thinking is selling insurance, they're probably not opening up their trading portfolio anywhere near as often as I am.
Right.
So I'm at a little bit of an advantage, you could say, but I'm also at risk for over trading because I always have those tabs open. Mm-hmm. Right. So, that's the answer I would give.
Yeah. I was actually, so that was with the GME stuff. And we talked about it actually in the first episode of Between Two Coins, but that was exactly me. I actually got into GME back when it was like, I think it was like when it was like $20. And I had my dad get in, and it was great. And because I started to hear the murmurs of what was happening on Wall Street bets, and I didn't know that they had the capability of taking it where they did. They took it to like $500+, right? I figured, it could probably go up double, triple maybe. So I had planned to get out around 50, and I did. I think it was either 40 or 50. I got out, had my dad get out, and then like the next day, I think it was like the next couple of days, it went all the way up to 500.
Yeah,
that was tragic. But I think it, like Tshroom was saying, it's that discipline to be able to to fight the FOMO, right? We always talk about FUD, right? We always say, FUD, they're spreading FUD, they're wanting to get people out. There's sometimes where you kind of have to also fight the being the moon boy and FOMO, right? Because FOMO can also be a little bit more dangerous. Because also, if you're not in a place emotionally, right, to kind of bring it back to that point, if you're not in that place where you've taken care of yourself emotionally, that you can support the gains. Something that Jordan Peterson said that I really loved when we were at Bitcoin 2022 is he said, nothing slips through the hands a fool's hands faster than money. Right? So if you don't take care of, like, maybe you did get in on this pump, are you in the place where you're not going to spend it all? You're not in the place where you're going to lose that money? If you're not willing to put the work into becoming a resilient trader, and sometimes that does mean taking loss, right? Sometimes that does mean learning from failure. But kind of like with Kelly, his tuition, he calls it, and his where he lost that $70,000 in a trade. I mean, that's tragic. But to him, he says that's his tuition into trading, and it made him a stronger trader because of it. I think in this case too, but in that you have to commit yourself to becoming a resilient trader, because that also reverberates into what you're gonna do with the profits.
And by the way, that was over years of trading for Kelly. Like that wasn't like he wasn't just getting into it and then boom, lost it all. Like I just wanted to reiterate.
Really?
Like,
he did lose it all in one trade.
It was all.
No, he lost it all in one trade, but it wasn't his first trade.
Right.
Like he wasn't going in.
Yes.
That was that he got too comfortable with leverage trading.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And he'd be the first to say that. We're not.
We're not talking crap.
No. I'm just
repeating what he said.
Yo, I'm about to get in this trading game. Boom, boom, boom. Like throwing all my money in.
Oh, good.
He's
You're
experienced.
Right. You're right.
His tuition was over.
And I actually have some friends who have.
Well, it was confidence, but yeah.
Who took out loans to buy Ethereum back in November.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like there's people out there that are
silly gooses.
You know, they come into it with a very naive understanding of not just markets, but with human nature, you know, and just like the world, and a lot of people who've been sheltered. But when you were talking about the people who were at those casinos and the slot machines, it looks like they're kind of camped out there and they're not looking to leave anytime soon. It reminded me of, I went to Canada one time and I went to Caesar's Palace. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Caesar's Palace.
They have one in Canada?
Yeah. There's a lot of
Caesar Palaces.
Is it Caesar's Palace?
Because Caesar's Palace is the one in Las Vegas.
Okay.
So you know.
Yeah. No,
it was definitely giant casino.
It was definitely Caesar's. I don't know if it was Caesar's Palace.
It probably was Caesar's because Caesar's owns like half the casinos on the Strip.
Yeah.
The company Caesar's.
But yeah, and that's interesting that is allowed to be the name of something. Caesar, who like killed like thousands and thousands of innocent civilians. Like,
all right.
But,
go off.
But,
he needs to pay for his crimes. I'm pretty sure he did.
You know, so you can do with that what
you
will.
He's a figure. You know,
I don't think he should be paid for his crimes, but it's just like in the days of trying to rename everything.
What about
like,
Alexander the Great?
I mean, he did. You know how he died, right? Caesar.
I don't remember.
He's got like stabbed like, what was it, like 100 times by his like all the people in the Republic.
Wow. So he got his.
That's what I'm saying.
He got his due.
He did get his due.
But I remember walking around that Caesar's Palace and just like seeing maybe even close to 1,000 people, but just like all of these old people just sitting there and presumably just gambling away their life savings.
Yep.
And it was, and I was walking around just like, I don't ever want this to happen to me.
No.
And I don't think that I think when people go there as a young person, they're going there, they're probably inebriated.
To have fun. Yeah.
There's to have fun. And it's also different hours of the day.
Yeah.
Like when I was there, it was like 2 p.m. in Windsor, Canada, by the way, if you were, on the edge of your
seat.
To
go check it out.
What city?
I want to go there.
No. But yeah, it's right. It was right on the other side of Detroit. of the river of that. I don't know of that river, whatever the river is.
Detroit river up there by Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was depressing, man. And I went into this, like, there was this cubby. There's this like room, like probably about the size of the studio. And there was this guy in there. The whole wall's covered in just like pamphlets, like help pamphlets. And I was asking him, like, what's going on, with this, this casino, like, what do you do here? I was just trying to get some information because I was like, okay, this is interesting. And he was paid there full time in case someone wanted to come talk to him about a gambling addiction.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Really?
So Caesar's Palace, I can't remember if he was with an outside organization or if he was actually with Caesar's Palace, like as a W-2 employee, but he was like sitting there ready to talk to people about gambling addiction. And he was like, yeah, not many people come in here, but we're here, and it was probably a liability shelter to some extent. So if someone was to, some really smart lawyer was to figure out how to make a case against like, oh, they should get all their money back because they were emotionally deceived into gambling their life savings away, that the casino could say, oh, well, we had this area where they could go talk about their gambling issue. Right. And so again, like the fact that even exists.
Well, you wonder how sad it is in Las Vegas. Any of the high points there were like glass shields, so people wouldn't jump.
Dude.
That's how bad it is. That was so to kind of finish the point, a lot of people, right? We're able to walk into a casino, right? We're able to walk into a casino and see that and be like, oh, that's horrible, right? I don't want to be that guy. We can't walk into every trader's living room and see them in front of their screens, doing the exact same thing. So that's why we're going to use our platform to say trading is not a problem. You can, I think trading is a great tool, but you have to be emotionally built for it, because what happens is if you're not ready for it, you end up, you have to realize that the money that you're making is not going to solve whatever is what's got you in that place, right? So at the end of the day, we want everybody watching this show to make bucks. We want you making money, right?
Honey.
But at the end of the day, we want to put, people first, and that means being emotionally strong to be able to handle that. And that's why we're not going to lose our integrity and just tell you, buy this, buy that, moon. We're going to tell you sometimes that there's times to evaluate where you're at and put a pedal on the brake.
Yeah. And
so that's kind of, I would say, especially right now, I'm speaking to a lot of you guys who are scared because the market is down. And this is being recorded on Fridays. It goes out tomorrow. So the market, maybe we rallied 1,000%, who knows? But the fact is the market's not doing well right now. So at the end of the day, it's gonna take that kind of that fortitude, because how many people, like you said, the naivety of it. I got into it, crypto, the beginning of the year, and I made some really bad investments, and the reason is because we're all about the evangelism, right? Crypto is not lacking evangelizers. We have so many people going around saying, buy this, buy that. You're never going to lose. Bitcoin is the solution to everything. The thing is, at the end of the day, there's still volatility, right? And without the education in that to back that up, the education, to set the expectations of when you get into the crypto market, this is what you can expect. How many people you got them in successfully? You made them buy. Maybe you made them take out a loan for $10,000 thinking it only goes up and to the right, right? Next thing you know, they're down forever and they're struggling to pay back that loan. Or
they can't, and they default, and they get their credit wrecked.
Right. So ultimately, right, there is, when you zoom out, it is up and to the right. I'm not even arguing. Bitcoin does solve a lot of money problems with the economy in this world, right? Bitcoin is the solution to that. Crypto and decentralization is a solution to a lot of things, but you have to set the expectations of what it looks like getting into the market. And it takes a resilience, right? Because it is a new market, right? You guys are right now, even with Bitcoin being at 40, was it like 42, 39, something like that? In that range, you're still an early adopter. Like, you're still an early adopter to this space. And so ultimately there's going to be a lot of ups and downs, but we know in the long run, if you just sit tight, right, you're going to make it in the end. And so but the biggest thing is being able to hold on to that bull, right? Because it's gonna buck you off, right? That's the goal. It's gonna try to get you out, and especially with institutional manipulation and so on in the space, it's hard to hold on, and that's what we're trying to train you for. That's what the education is because you're gonna make it, right? It's all about having the resilience to not get off, and if you're trading, it's the resilience to be disciplined about it and not FOMO or FUD, but especially FOMO in trading is to not just let your trades, go and then thinking you're going to sell perfectly the tops and bottoms. Sometimes you just have to have, this is my percent and I'm going to stick to it. And then you're going to in the long run succeed. So
how much time do we have left?
Yeah. What's the time at?
We started, we have about like 10 minutes.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right, so Tshroom, I'm gonna throw it to you because I think you had an interesting subject you want to bring up about the about old Vitalik Buterin, Ethereum daddy.
So just the headline is Ethereum founder Vitalik Buterin, Putin's lovely Russian government is one of my enemies now. That's his quote.
Interesting.
So Vitalik has distanced himself from Russia, and obviously the Russian issues that are going on now, the war that they've waged on the Ukrainian people, and that yesterday the Canadian Parliament felt comfortable labeling officially a genocide, which is a whole nother issue. But I don't want to pretend like I'm understating what's going on.
It's horrible
in that area.
Horrible.
But the way I was going to transition into that story before you kind of just cold transitions, which is fine. But
sorry.
I was gonna say, I've been finding myself just like anybody else, just kind of kicking back in the evening and just like, playing video games or enjoying myself and being like, man, there's a war going on right now.
It's crazy.
And it's not just like a war, like, cause there's kind of always wars going on in like the Congo and like South Sudan, and Yemen, like there's wars been going on there for a while, but those are like very distant, like in my mind. Whereas this is a world power, Russia, and a major European country. It's not in the EU. It's also not in NATO, but it's a country that I've met people from, right? And it's a country that exports goods that I've actually consumed.
Yeah, we're feeling the ramifications of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's not to belittle the other wars that are going on and the suffering that are going on there, but so what's happening now is Vitalik, who is Russian, he's a Russian person, he's having to distance himself from this regime that has made some very, very poor choices, to say the least. And, he must be in a tough spot because he's the representative of Ethereum, which if anybody not watching this doesn't know, Ethereum, a cryptocurrency, was co-founded by Vitalik. And he is kind of seen as the
figurehead.
Yeah, he's kind of like the Charles Hoskinson of Ethereum.
Which, for you guys who don't know who Charles Hoskinson is, which most of you guys probably do, he's the figurehead for Cardano.
Yeah.
He's like I guess how you put it, he's like the Elon Musk for So the way Elon Musk is with Tesla, except not CEO, just like representative, because he's not the CEO of Tesla anymore. That's the same.
He is.
Are you sure?
Oh yeah, Elon's definitely the CEO of Tesla. That hasn't changed.
I'm pretty sure I remember hearing that he wasn't anymore. Okay,
I think of Jeff Bezos.
Okay, maybe Jeff Bezos.
Let's
look that up, Jamie.
I was gonna say Jeff Bezos stepped down, not Amazon, but I think Tesla.
I'm pretty sure he's still the CEO of SpaceX, but he's not the CEO of Tesla.
CEO of Tesla Motors.
Is he really?
Yeah. No,
I'm such a goob. Oh yeah, maybe
I
I'm
think you're thinking
of.
He got into some issues with the SEC. And I think he did have to step down or something and be on the board, but he's definitely there now.
Oh,
because in the head. Okay, so back to the
back to your saying. I'm just being a silly goose. Yeah.
So Russia has completely tarnished their reputation on the world stage. Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of England, of the UK, he said he will never be able to cleanse the blood from his hands. Like, this is just, it's over. We're not understanding that yet because it's so soon. It's, the shock is still really raw.
Yeah.
But it's over for Russia. It's over for the Putin regime. He's not going to be able to engage in any kind of serious trade with other countries other than China and other, corrupt nations that are willing to deal and trade with somebody like Putin. But so, as I'm relaxing, I'm thinking like, man, like, should I feel guilty about just hanging out and not not donating a bunch of money, not working overtime at like McDonald's to raise money for the cause. McDonald's, that would be a place to work, but and I think the takeaway is no, I shouldn't feel guilty, right? But also, I should be holding people like Vitalik accountable for his decisions, and he's already gone ahead and kind of distanced himself from Russia, which is the right thing to do. But we are promoting this industry of crypto. We're very much crypto guys, and so we want to make sure that in the same way that we promote it, we're also making sure that the Russians and other bad actors in the world aren't using it to embezzle money, into money launder, and to ultimately fund potentially some kind of takeover of a whole blockchain. And so that's something I've been thinking about. But Vitalik has definitely made the right decision here, I think. And it's just it's an unfortunate time for him to be associated with Russia. I think the Russian people are probably good people for the most part. They seem to be brainwashed right now by the news, but the regime certainly is not a good regime.
I was gonna say that's incredibly brave for him to do. It's a big target on his back.
Well, I mean, he also definitely doesn't have any, I don't think he has any political ties, right? I think he was just born there. But I think even what we've established, and I'm not going to get into that because I think that's not something we really can talk about on the channel, but like we saw with the pandemic, the way certain people were held accountable for something they had nothing to do with, it's the same thing. And so I think for him, he's getting ahead of it to say, I have nothing to do with this. And in fact, I disdain it, know? But I would even say, I think kind of what you were getting at there that you kind of mentioned of just as much so as we are advocates for the space, we also need to be willing to call bad actors in the space out, right? And so, and that's why I'm calling it now. but it's something to where there's a caution to getting into the market. And that's on that trading side of things. But also there is as a community, a decentralized community, right? Because that's the key thing. There's projects, and that's one of the things that you also need to consider is that not all cryptocurrencies are created equal. Some are wolves in sheep's clothing to get people involved and to make money off of them, or maybe they're just centralized actors that are, or they're being manipulated by these world powers, right? Mm-hmm. So there's that kind of discernment that comes with also being in the space, that sometimes there's going to be wolves among you, and that it takes that knowing, right? And we need to be willing to call each other out and to protect our community in a way that is uplifting, and also in the fact that there's no centralized power putting its hand on it. And so that's the thing about decentralization, is that decentralization actually takes participation. Yeah. Right. There's a difference in a centralized authority. A centralized system you can opt out of, right? Or you at least don't have to do anything. I don't have to feed the machine. In crypto, if everyone just stopped mining, there's no Bitcoin. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's the participation that makes this decentralized system work. It's that the fact is that there are people with mining computers, and there's an incentive there and profit. But in that, there's also an obligation on the other side of it, is that if we want to make crypto into something that we see it as this solution to so many problems and something that is a positive shift in the world, it takes a participation in the space in the community to realize that there's a lot of manipulators. There's a lot of ways that the tool can be used for harm and stuff like that. And now, instead of it just being something that we're at the whim of, we actually have a say in how this goes, and we have an obligation to push things in the right direction. So I think even with Vitalik, his role, he realizes, and the thing is with Vitalik, he's not actually in some kind of authority over Ethereum. I mean, he's involved in the development of Ethereum, but it's a decentralized project, just like most of the cryptocurrencies, right? So he's not directly in charge of. It still takes consensus from the miners and stuff like that to make things happen. So I think even what he's trying to do is make a stance for the people. One, for the people who somehow still attach him to Ethereum in that sense of saying it kind of what his opinion reflects Ethereum's opinion. Even though Ethereum is decentralized, it doesn't have an opinion. So I think he's getting ahead of it in that sense, but I think he's also establishing, hey, in the in this community sense, I'm making a stance on this because me as a player in the community, I will not stand for injustice in the world. And I think he's kind of getting ahead of it, and I think we all, in the same way, have a responsibility to do the same thing. And to make sure that we're building this community to uplift instead of being a tool for evil. So
that's really good. That's really good, Smay.
Yeah. So Zach, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I love it. I mean, I definitely think, especially as us, I mean, I'm not on camera that much, but I know you guys, we have this play where, you know, we have a voice in the space and we can actually say things that people are going to listen to. Right, I think, but more telling is what do we do off screen, right? So more telling is like, I mean, obviously Tshroom, I loved his point, and I love what you were saying, Smay. Like we basically are playing into this, but we would believe in this and say the same thing if we weren't on screen, right? And the same would play as like Vitalik and all these. Like I think I'm just trying to wrap this up as like, you know, in the crypto community, I think there are bad players. There's fast like grab, but there is people that believe in the space and they believe in doing something. And a lot of people, I mean, that I've met that have no face in the community, but they are doing really big steps to build a community and build a background and build a monetization to help nations and nation states around the world. And, you know, maybe they, you know, profit, but, you know, no one really cares about the programmer in the background. But I think like overall, like, you know, this big situation and political statement is, it's really telling when somebody steps up, and you know, with affiliation paints like a background on their head. I mean, especially when a lot of people are coming out against it, but they're not Russian, you know.
Yeah. He's painting like a target on his head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely taking a risk by saying that. But, I mean, he's also, I doubt he lives anywhere near. I don't know if he lives in the UK or if he lives in America. But
I don't know if it's a target. I don't know if it's a target. I think, if anything, I mean, it's probably a target to Russia and Russia's allies. But, I mean, if anything, the entire other half of the world already did that. So I don't think he's alone in that he's somebody that they want to, that he's in any danger or anything like that. I would say ultimately, I think it's more of everyone has to share their stance nowadays. I mean, it's very clear in this last couple of years, there's been a lot of things that have been a call for empathy, right? There's been a lot of things that are going on in the world, and it's saying, okay, your position in how we see you, it depends on how much empathy you have, right? And I think that's a lot of and by the way, I'm not criticizing that. I think in that is a system in the world, it can be used for malpractice, right? But I think at the end of the day, that's where we're at as a society, is that we're judging people based on how much empathy they have. And so I think this is a big stance of him to say, this is something that it almost hits close to home, right? Mm-hmm. Because he's seeing from the country he comes from where it's at. And so I think that I think he feels a burden of responsibility to make it very clear how he feels about it. And I think just we're all called to do something like that in this day and age, that we all have to kind of put our foot down on what we believe in and stand firm to that. So I commend them. I think it's great. And so I don't think to be honest with you, I don't think it has any ramification. And just in case you were wondering, you're listening and saying, does that mean I should buy Ethereum? I don't think that has any ramifications on the status of Ethereum in the market. I think it's just what this show really serves for, and the reason why we even talked about it is because this show is for the community. Between Two Coins was made because we went to Bitcoin 2022, and we sat and we saw the fact that there were so many people that were so enthusiastic, and there was a lot of very interesting characters in the space, yet we're so focused on the price of everything. We're so focused on the money opportunity and everything that we don't actually stop to realize that we're actually part of a community, right? We're part of a group of guys and girls that are devoted to something, right? Mm-hmm. And in that, there's kind of a shared commonality there. So we said, well, why not kind of, instead of trying to look forward, let's look adjacent to us and say, how about we highlight this community that we're all in? Yeah. So that's kind of why we wanted to talk about it. I think it's a very interesting thing, and there's kind of a bit of a lesson to be learned there in everything that we're doing. So, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this unconventional episode of Between Two Coins. Next week I'm pretty sure we have some special guests on the hook, so that'll be pretty cool. You get to check them out. I'm not going to say who it is, but that's exciting. But without further ado,
also be praying for Tim.
Oh yes, yes, guys, seriously, be praying for Tim. Prayers go to Tim. I mean, it's crazy, but obviously, anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching. Whoa there, partner! You watched the whole video. Good on you. Now what you can do to make me even happier is go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, bing that notification bell, and let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you for watching.